Good morning, this is Bill from the Upside of Downsizing. We received another delivery of shade cloth yesterday, and our goal is to try to get that up today to help keep the trailer cool in these summer months. So if you saw our previous video, which I would put a link in the description above, but I don't know how to do that yet, so I will try to leave a link to that video in the description below. Yvonne took the shade cloth, sewed pockets into the width of it, and then we used 3/4 inch PVC reinforced with 1/2 inch rebar, and we made essentially curtain rods. It's not a bad idea. It's working out well. I just wanted to try to save Yvonne the trouble of making those, sewing all those pockets into the shade cloth. So what we're going to do this time is I took one of my rough sawn 2x4s and I ripped it in half, then drilled 1 1/8 inch holes on either end, and then put these little contraptions together here. And this is basically nothing more than a 3/4 inch galvanized floor flange with a 3/4 inch male adapter screwed into the bottom of it, a short piece of pipe, and a 3/4 inch T preventing it from coming out. This will get secured to the roof of the RV on either end, and then we have specially designed staples made for holding shade cloth to pergolas and other wooden structures, and we'll secure it along here. This will be mounted on top of the trailer, and then it'll then come down at an angle, and we will secure it at the bottom using those concrete piers that we used before. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get these pieces up on the roof first. All right, I've laid out the location of the rod where I want this to go. I've marked it. Now I'm going to secure it with silicone underneath and using 2 screws that will be going right into the wood frame of the trailer. I'll then cover it with a self-sealing lap sealant made for RV roofs. The other thing I wanted to point out is the screws I'm using are actually made for metal roofs, and they do have a rubber self-sealing washer on them. And I've used, as you can see, a generous amount of silicone underneath to prevent any leakage. But again, going right into the frame of the RV, I'm not concerned about leakage here, but I will be overkilling it with lap sealant covering this entire flange. Okay, that was pretty quick and painless. So I've got both floor flanges secured, locked down, and the shade cloth will be running across the slide and down. Now, to prevent the shade cloth from being damaged from the corners of the slide, I've taken some insulation, some of this closed cell insulation made for pipes, and I've secured it to the edge of the slide and taped it down so that it won't go anywhere, and the shade cloth will cover that up and then be riding on this soft insulation as opposed to on the hard edge of the slide, because the wind here, when it kicks up, could cause some damage. Okay, I've got both pieces of 2x2 secured to the roof. Now what I'm going to do is take these down, and while the silicone is drying, I'm going to hit the 2x2s with a quick coat of polyurethane just to give them a little weather resistance. So on the ground, the shade cloth is going to be attached to a 9-foot 2x2, and that 2x2 will be attached to concrete piers that have metal strapping to them. So I've got to take this 14-foot rough sawn 2x4, cut it down to 9 feet, and then rip it in half. Instead of snapping a chalk line, I'm going to take my speed square, put it up along the edge of the 2x4, put my pencil in this divot right here opposite the 2-inch mark, and then just run it the full length of the 2x4. And that'll give me a good line to cut on. Easier than snapping a line, especially when you're by yourself. Okay, I cut it down to 9 feet, ripped it, and hit it with a 40 grade sandpaper just to take the rough edges off. I didn't want to have it snagging on the shade cloth. I'll hit it with polyurethane and we're good to go. So this is the lap sealant that I'm going to use to cover the floor flanges. It's made by Dicor, and this is really the industry standard self-leveling sealant for RV roofs. You put it on, it goes on thick like pudding, and then after a day or two, it's going to self-level and pretty much make an impenetrable seal. So when you apply this stuff, it goes on kind of like cake frosting, and you can see how even after just a couple minutes, it's already starting to smooth out. So it goes on a little rough. You don't really have to worry about making it look pretty because it's going to do it all on its own. So we took the shade cloth, laid it out evenly on the boards that I cut earlier, and we tacked it down briefly with staples, with a regular T50 stapler, and now we're going back and using these pronged clamps that you can get for shade cloth, and we've now put those the entire length. And what we did was we rolled this end up and created sort of a hem, and then before we actually install it on the roof, we're going to take the entire piece of wood and we're going to roll it once so that the stress is actually taken off of these clamps or staples. So we've got the first piece up. It went smoothly as planned. What we did was we used these concrete piers at the bottom, and the strapping is just now screwed to the wooden post that goes through the base of the sunscreen or shade screen. So now we're just trying to decide whether we're going to bury those concrete piers like we did in the front, and I think we're just going to do it because we know the winds can really kick up. So eventually, and I'll also have to get up on top and glue the those pins that are pinning the wood down to the floor flanges. I'll have to get up there and glue those secure because right now they're just hand tight. But otherwise, it's a good system. It seems to work well. So we're going to continue with the next one. Okay, we just installed the second sunshade, the one going over the slide here in the foreground, and that pipe insulation that I put on the edge of the slide is really fantastic. It will not only protect the sunshade, but it actually, because it has a little bit of a spongy tooth to it, it grips the sunshade like a brake. It's incredible. I mean, it really, it gives it a great purchase. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave these blocks. We were debating whether we were going to bury them. We're going to leave them the way they are for right now. The wind from this side is completely different than any other side on the property. This is the north side, and the wind just doesn't come from the north quite as often. So really the wind is going to be coming more or less through the sunshade as opposed to directly on or under it. So, but we'll see. If we have to bury them, we'll bury them. The other option is with this system, and you can see what we did was we took the strapping, bent it down, and then screwed it to the 2x2. With this system, we could actually put a third block in the middle and then just screw it right through the fabric to the wood if we needed additional weight. But we'll see how this reacts with the wind. It turned out really well. So now all I've got to do is go up on top of the roof, and the PVC pins that we put through the 2x2 on the roof have to be glued together, and we will be in the shade, made in the shade. Anyways, if you have any questions about how we did this or why we did this, give us a question in the description box below, or I should say in the comment box below. And we really appreciate your support. You can see that we bought sandbags. Yvonne filled 8 of them, and we have a total of 20 that we're going to have just in case. Better safe than sorry. But we are looking forward to a shady afternoon now in the trailer. This is Bill from the Upside of Downsizing. Again, thanks very much for your support, and we will catch you in the next video.